Hey team, welcome to today's training on survey calculations and reporting. So today we're going to be talking a lot about the survey summary process. So we're going to be looking specifically at how do you refresh mode counts during a survey and at the end of the survey. We'll be talking about how to confirm the employee or residential information to help with those calculations. And then in the off chance you do need to add some additional responses, we're going to show you how to do that. And then at the end, we're going to talk a good bit about survey reporting, how to quickly access those reports, how to download those reports, things like that. So with that, I'm going to switch over now to our One Commute application, and I am going to be in your sandbox for this training. So I'm in your sandbox, and we're looking at the 2023 BOP1 annual survey. So there's a new tab called Reports. So I'm going to click over to the Reports tab, and this is where you'll access all the things you need to access for running the calculations, as well as getting the reports. So first thing I want to point out is at the top of the screen, you have three buttons. You have update mode counts, confirm survey and employer information, and add additional responses. So what these buttons do, if I click update mode counts, the system's going to go in and it's going to refresh the mode count. So this is, you want to click this if you're trying to get real-time data. So people have been taking the survey for maybe a week or more, and you're just ready to see how we're progressing. So you can click this button at that point in time, and it'll refresh the mode counts. The last time you want to click the button is at the end of the survey. So survey is complete. You're ready to gather your reports, click the button again, and it's going to refresh the mode count. So I pressed it just a second ago. It takes, I don't know, half a minute to fully run. Once it runs, you'll get a message saying that the process is complete. So I'm going to click finish. And then from here, you can begin to review the results. And we'll talk a little bit more about the results in just a minute in the reports. The next button across the screen is confirming survey and employer type information. So this button is used really only once during the survey process, and you can do it at any point in time. So when you click on the button, it's going to ask you just a couple of questions. One of the questions is the survey trying to calculate modes using just the work week, or are we dealing with the entire week, so Monday through Sunday? So you'll just want to confirm if it's Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday, and this is used in the calculations. The other thing it's going to ask about is either the number of employees that reside at each employer site, or it's going to ask you about the number of units available at the residential property. So this again is about just confirming the values that the system's going to use in the survey. So as an example, I'll click on our first employer here, and then after I click on it, it's going to take me to the next screen, and it just asks at the time of the survey. So this is dealing with when people were taking the survey, how many people were employed at the employer site, or it may ask about how many units were available at the residential site. So you'll fill in the number, and then it'll also ask if you want to update the related account. So instead of having to go back to Calico and update the employee count there, you can let the system do it by clicking yes, the number should be updated on the employer site, or no, this is only for the survey. and you can update the employer information on the account uh, as you need to manually. Once you're complete, once you're done, you'll just click next, and you're kind of done with that button, unless you learn new information about an employee site. And the third button here is about adding additional responses. So this may happen whenever you have an employer that reports they have X number of people teleworking or commuting into the office using transit, but you didn't quite get that number of responses in the survey. So we want to just supplement the survey, adding in those responses. So I'm going to click on Add Additional Responses, and this is going to open up a screen that's going to ask just a few questions to help us calculate what we need to add. So I'm gonna pick Calico again, and we're gonna say that the mode that we're going to update is telework, and I'm gonna click next. So the system goes through and it will calculate the number of responses that we've gotten so far for teleworking, and it's going to display it here on this left-hand column. And then over to the right is just a few fields that's meant to help you calculate the number of responses to add into the survey. So looking over to the right-hand side, we can see that we've had quite a few. What this middle number is, it reads 8. The way it calculated 8 is it took the 3 highest days responded by, and it takes the lowest of those. So you can see 16, 15, and 8 was sort of our highest response days for teleworking, and 8 being the lowest. So it put in 8, and you can override this. It's just meant to help you calculate. So let's pretend that the employer said that they have 75 people that is teleworking, and we've had 8 people so far that are at least doing that 3 days a week. So I'm going to put in 75 here, and then the system's calculated that based on what it knows, we should add 67 additional responses. Now, if you don't agree with this number, feel free to change it. So if I wanted to go with the second highest number, I'm going to put in 15. And now the number shifts to 60. I'm going to go back to 8. So this will update real time based on however you're answering the question. So this is just meant as an optional calculator. It doesn't mean that it's adding this number of people. It's just giving you an estimate of what to add. This bottom section is where you're actually going to start adding the responses. So you fill in each of the required questions. So the first question is about how the person would have responded, how the person would have answered this question if they were taking the survey. So in this case, it's teleworked or telecommute, excuse me. But if you were asking like a transit question, it may have several different options for you to pick from. So just pick your best guess of how somebody would have answered. Reason for additional responses. So normally this would be employer reported, but if there's another reason, you can update it there. This is number of additional responses to include. This is an important field. So this is where if you're going to add 67 responses, you want to type in 67, and then you want to pick 3 days a week. Or I'm assuming you want to pick 3 days a week, or maybe you want to do all 5 days a week at 67 responses. So I'm going to put in 67 here. Tuesday, we're going to have 0. 67, we're going to do 0 there, 67 here, 0 there, and 0 on Sunday as well. Once you're done, you're going to click Next, and the system's going to go in and it's going to add those 67 additional responses. And so I've added 67 additional responses, and I'm going to now refresh my reports. Okay, and now we're going to talk about the fun part, the reports. So as a starting point, we have 3 reports for you to review, and these are all about the mode rates, and we can add additional reports as needed. I hope this more closely aligns to how you're reporting back to your projects today. So we'll talk about each of these reports and what kind of data is coming from. So the first report we're going to talk about is the survey response rate by employer or residential property. So if we're looking at an employer one, it's going to break down each employer site like this. It's going to show you the number of responses received from this employer. So you can see for Calico we have 88 responses. We can see how many additional responses we've added to the survey. So in this case, we've been playing with this one a good bit. So we've added a total of 142 additional responses. And then the number of potential responses in this case would be the number of employees. So we can potentially get up to 290 responses. And then based on this, some of the number of responses and additional responses, we have a 79% response rate. If I wanted to, I could open this report. So if I can click on the link, I can open the report. It's going to open in another tab. And then once it opens, I can review it and I can export it if need be. So I'm going to come over here. I can take a screen print if I wanted to, or I could click export. And then when you're exporting these reports, to get it to match the formatting that's displayed in this report view, just leave it as the Excel format. Click export. And then once it opens, it'll look something like this, and you can take the table. So going back to the survey, our next report is that alternative modes and responses. So this format's just intended to help you get a quick view of some of those metrics you're measuring. So looking at this looks a little different than your report, but we can change it if need be. So the first column is going to be the mode. Second column is the response. So you can see the individual responses that are related to this mode. So for carpool, there's 3 different things that mean carpool. And for public transportation, there's several options here. Right, so looking across the report, so on the bottom you have the record count. So this is the number of responses received for each day of the week. So we had 10 total responses, which is an average of 2 because we have 5 days of the week that we're reporting on. If I go down to the bottom, then I get more information. So we can see the number of employees that are responding is 420. So these are the total potential responses that was outlined in our top report, so 420. You can see the mode use rate for each day of the week. So this is Monday, is at 47%, 47.86% alternative modes. And we had 201 people that responded or that we added additional responses on Monday. If I want to, I can open this report as well. So when you open this report, it's going to look a little different than it did in that screen, but the information is going to be the same. So this is the view that you can download and you can paste into your report. So again, it has the mode, the response. It summarizes. It gives a subtotal for like carpool. If you don't want that, if you don't want to see the subtotal, we can just undo the toggle switch for subtotal, and then it hides that information. So this is using what's called a stacked summary. If you wanted to separate each of the metrics out by columns, turn off stacked summary, the toggle switch, and then it'll look like what you're seeing now. And again, same thing. If you want to export it, and then you can export it in the format that you want. So the third report, the last report that we're going to talk about is the survey alternative mode use. Very similar to report number 2. It's just a simpler view where it just shows the alternative mode rate for each of the modes. So again, this is a report you can open and you can download the results and use in your PowerPoint presentation. So that's really it. That is the changes. I hope this helps simplify. Please let us know if you see anything additional that's needed, or if you have any questions. Thank you.